Welcome back. We are discussing the lesson Sustainable Management of Natural Resources. Today we will be discussing on one of the most important natural resource, that is water. As you know, water makes up almost 70% of the mass of our living cell. The human body itself is made up of around 60 to 70% water. The earth itself is comprised of 70% of water, but the water that is useful, that is potable for consumption, is hardly 0.2%. Right from agriculture to our day-to-day activities, and also most importantly for factories, water is very essential. Now, most of the water comes from the water cycle. As you know, it comes from monsoons. So, human beings are heavily dependent on rains for this important commodity, that is water. But there is no connection between the availability of water and rainy season. The Indian subcontinent, it receives rain for on an average 3 to 4 months. But still we face water shortage or water scarcity during the months of February, March, April, May. This is because most of the water is run off into rivers, water bodies and seas and oceans. We are mainly dependent on groundwater, the water that seeps inside. So that is what is the groundwater. That groundwater is very less. What are the reason for shortage of groundwater? One is loss of vegetation, which is basically destruction of forests and other grass cover on the land. Because of this, the water simply runs off instead of percolating inside. So, destruction of forest can lead to reduction in the groundwater level. Another reason for not being able to hold the groundwater is that most of the water is used for high water demanding crops. For example, sugarcane, rice, these are all water intensive crops. They require large amount of water. So most of the water is used for growing these crops. Therefore, during the latter part of the year, there could be acute shortage of water. Another important reason is water pollution. This water is not available for consumption because of the biological, physical or chemical pollutants present in water. Our ancestors as well as the local people, they had developed indigenous technologies and techniques to conserve and preserve water for the entire year based on how much rainfall is received in a given area. They used to plan the type of crops based on the available water, due to which they were able to manage the water resource. Not only had that, they had technology available to store water, to recharge the groundwater and to make water available to far off distances. For example, these are all, they come under water harvesting techniques. For example, khadins in Rajasthan, tals in Maharashtra, bundis in UP and Madhya Pradesh, surangam in Kerala, katta in Karnataka, kulls eri in Tamil Nadu, or the usage of small canals and check dams. These are structures that are meant to stop the wastage of water, to collect water on the surface, and this surface water would then percolate and seep into the lower levels of the soil, therefore recharging the groundwater. So these structures, they played an important role in conserving water. All these things, they come under the topic water harvesting or watershed management. watershed management can be defined as a scientific use of water and soil to increase the productivity of the particular area. These structures, all these are local specific. In a particular area, particular people have developed their own techniques based on their understanding of the water and soil structure. The objectives of these are, of course, to increase production, increasing productivity and biomass, for example, when you are able to store water and you can use it for longer periods of time, therefore the amount of crops that you could grow, the yield will increase. Also, the number of crops that you could grow in a particular year will also increase because water is available. Therefore, that would increase. This would in turn improve the financial status of these people because that would bring them extra income. Not only that, it would preserve water for future use and it could prevent droughts and floods by storing water. It could prevent droughts. Also, it could prevent floods. These are all objectives. And lastly, it would recharge other water bodies. Water could be made available to far off distances where there is not enough rainfall. If you store this water later by the use of canals, etc., you could make this water to go over to far off places. During that time, it could recharge the other far off water bodies. So these are the important objectives as well as uses of watershed management. These were all maintained by local people. It was built by local people, it was maintained by local people, and because of that they did not overexploit it. They knew how much they would require, they used only that much. So it also prevented overexploitation of resources. Everyone received appropriate amounts of water. But then came the British. When the British came, they introduced the concept of dams, huge megalithic structures which would block the flow of water, hence it could store water. Of course, dams have lot of importance. Like these structures, they also help in storing water. All the water that is wasted, that has run off, this could be collected and stored in a large amount of area. So this can be used later. Not only that, the stored water can be used to generate electricity and for agricultural purposes. The British people did. They took control of these local structures, therefore local people did not receive any benefit from these dams. Not only that, these dams, they resulted in exploitation. For example, people living near the dams, they used to grow crops that require large amount of water. People living far away, they did not receive water at all. So that results in unequitable distribution of resource. Dams also result in 3 levels of problems: social problems, economic problems and environmental problems. the issues with dams. The social problem is that people are displaced from their land. So in order to build dams, people are made to move away from their area to far off areas. So people are displaced. They are displaced, no doubt, one without proper compensation. There are cases where from the year 1970s people are displaced, still they have not received the full amount of compensation. So these are some social issues. Not only that, when people move to new areas, they don't have chances of employment. Their chances of getting employed are very less. The government may give compensation, but it would not last forever. Therefore, that would result in some social issues. Economic issues, of course, large amount of public money, the taxpayers' money is utilized in building such large dams, but all the people may not derive benefit from it. So certain factories or industries may use up all the dam water, or like I already told you, people living near the dams, they could get most benefit, but people who are living very far away from the dams, they may not receive any benefit at all. So that would result in economic issues. Environmental issues, that is loss of biodiversity, destruction of forests. Other than the area that is occupied by ousting the people, large amount of forest should be removed to make area. So that would in turn lead to loss of biodiversity. Not only that, when water is stored in that area, the endemic species of certain plants could be destroyed. So these are the environmental issues. Therefore, large dams should be well thought of before building, considering all these points in mind, so that it could be useful for everyone, not only a chosen few. These are the problems with dams. All this comes under the topic of water management. Thank you.